2019 Mercedes-Benz G-Class car review. Introduced in 1979, and largely unchanged since, the G-Wagen can be a dinosaur. Fittingly, it appeared inside the most fantastic installment yet in the Sci-Fi series, through which scientists made a new dinosaur. Because the first time in almost 4 decades, Mercedes-Benz has finally messed with all the G-Class's DNA. The good points of 2019 Mercedes-Benz G-Class: vastly improved ride, much roomier interior, insane off-road ability. The bad points of 2019 Mercedes-Benz G-Class: plenty of wind noise, still doesn't love cornering, 6-figure cost. What's new looks old. Oh, don't worry an excessive amount. Just think about the pictures. While the 2019 model is comprehensively re-engineered, only the entrance handles, the spare tire cover, direct sunlight visors, the headlight washer nozzles, and also a bracket within the hood are distributed to its predecessor, it still looks very similar. The edges are softer now and also the roof pillars really are a bit thicker, but all from the important GQs. Will there be the awkward trim strips encircling your body, an additional tire hanging off a huge side-hinged rear portal, square-cut doors now with rounded edges with exposed hinges, a clamshell hood, and marker lights on top on the fenders? Without seeing the earlier and new alongside, most of the people will be hard-pressed to spot many differences. Heck, casual observers should go on thinking it's unchanged. Although it wasn't placed on any with the Europe market vehicles we drove with this first exposure, the brush guard is still standard from the United States. And in addition to your G's Lego brick silhouette, the most crucial mechanical parameters remain. There's still a ladder frame, as well as the truck really has 3 locking differentials. But the leading and rear differentials can be a critical 1.6 inches farther apart now, plus the front one resides in the independently suspended front axle, which is the primary basis for the G-Wagen's dramatically improved ride quality. Without a big log axle crashing around beforehand, Benz's brick rides much more like a modern vehicle, experiencing bumps without making occupants feel as if they're doing the off-roading they probably will never do. The boost on the electrically assisted power steering varies with regards to the selected driving mode, but this model's rack and pinion system is a lot more precise compared to outgoing trucks' recirculating ball setup. Overall length comes to an end 2.1 inches, as well as the new G is really a significant 2.5 inches wider. This changes the proportions dramatically. While 2.1 inches represents simply a 1% rise in length, width balloons 7%. From behind, all G-Wagens now take over the broad-shouldered bulk from the wild, portal-axled G554 x 42, particularly the Mercedes-AMG G63, which gets slightly wider fender flares compared to G550. A stretch. Mercedes reapportioned the G's new length to get an extra 1.5 inches of legroom up front along with a massive 5.9 inches more inside rear. Whereas tall people had trouble getting comfortable behind the wheel inside old truck and discovered the rear seat hopeless, now even our 99th percentile was perfectly comfortable in different seat. And the G's upright profile means headroom is not an issue. Mercedes says the seats are ergonomically designed, which is usually a huge upgrade from how you'd describe similar pieces in the predecessor. Those felt like we were holding carry-over items in the original 1979 class, once the sales brochure probably have described them as something to stay on, the best way an overturned bucket or perhaps a knee-high rock will do in the event the only alternative is standing. The optional active multi-control seat package will permit massages while off-roading, plus the whole variety of interior materials is currently modern Mercedes. Mercedes claims a 375-pound fat reduction thanks to extensive computer modeling of components and systems to view wear-to-shave mass. The body shell is steel, as you move the fenders, doors, and hood are aluminum. A laser-welded roof panel plus an underhood brace connecting the tops on the damper mounts, much such as a unibody strut-hour brace, increase torsional rigidity by 55% and lower levels of NVH. Although even together with the windshield tilted back extremely slightly, there's still many wind noise about the pillars at freeway speeds. And if you hear strut-hour brace and think from the dainty aluminum or carbon fiber X's in the hood of any sports car, be aware that this brace is thick enough for everyone duty as part of an roll cage. Better on, better still off. While the independent front suspension goes a considerable ways toward taming the G's ride, along with the sturdier ladder frame helps maintain a center of gravity low, the G remains to be a tall, narrow truck. It doesn't lean in corners nearly almost as much as its positively nautical predecessor, however the tires start squealing early and surrender to understeer shortly thereafter. Adjustable dampers are optional within the G550 and standard within the G63. The AMG also gets back in front anti-roll bars that will make for a slightly sportier box. Switching the dynamic dampers into firmer settings in both versions buys fractionally more cornering ability, but you're always aware in the G's towering height and it is off-road mission. That's a mission the G, of course, completes unerringly. AMG was involved in side development on the new class from your beginning, therefore, the difference between the two main versions from the truck is less dramatic now. Personal computer was from the past. Previous AMGs sat less than their counterparts, a seemingly contradictory upgrade with an off-road vehicle, but that's no longer the case. Ground clearance for both models is 9.5 inches, with 7.3 inches of travel for that independent front suspension and 8.8 inches for your live-axle rear. At 30.9, 29.9, and 26.0 degrees, the approach, departure, and breakover angles all increase about 1 degree compared with all the outgoing G. But none of the figures can match the importance on the 3 locking differentials along with the unrivaled traction they supply. Together using a low range which has nearly half again the reduction in the previous gear 2.93 to 1 compared to 2.10 to 1, those lockers mean the G is often working. We saw indicated 60+ degree inclines and declines repeatedly during an off-road demonstration, scrambling up loose rock and dirt as if it was asphalt, and stopping and reversing support hills to showboat. So long as it isn't high-centered, the G feels just as if it can't get stuck. Driving forces. If AMG's involvement ensures that all G-Wagens possess a little bit of Affolterbach included, the theme continues inside the engine room, where the two G550 as well as the G63 now pack twin-turbo 4.0-liter V8s backed by way of a 9-speed automatic. The G550's engine is unchanged from last year's, making 416 horsepower and 450 lb-ft of torque. In place of its previous twin-turbo 5.5-liter V8, the G63 now packs a hotter version in the 4.0-liter cranked approximately 577 horsepower and 627 lb-ft of torque, increases of 14 and 66 on the larger engine. When it debuted in 1979, the first G offered 71 horsepower. Both variants still dump their exhaust ahead with the rear wheels. However, the G550's tips are tucked from side behind one side steps, whereas the G63's twin tips poke out proudly. Both setups produce the rollicking V8 waffle so central for the modern G's identity, using a flap from the AMG's pipes allowing a choice of higher or lower volumes under light loads. After a few hours we would go with the quiet mode. When you're approaching a stone wall or even a tunnel, you'll need to be quick together with the mode button and also the window switches. The experience from the two engines is comparable, with all the G63 presenting a much more urgent, slightly peakier version from the same. Its 627 lb-ft is landed from 2,500 to 3,500 revolutions per minute, even though the G550's 450 lb-ft stretch from 2,250 to 4,750 revs. As before, either yields an astonishingly quick big box figure around the G550 needing 5.5 seconds heading to 60 miles per hour, along with the G63 configuring it done in just 4.5. Top speed with the former has limitations to 130 miles per hour, these allows 137 miles per hour, or 149 together with the optional AMG driver's package. Now that this G-Wagen's ride and handling have already been somewhat modernized, offering a 149 miles per hour speed limiter is less incongruous than before. A more appropriate driver's package would come with a winch and all-terrain tires, nonetheless it doesn't. The G's current demographic isn't likely to ever test it as true strengths. This new generation's improved manners will likely keep it like that for another 4 decades. Both models embark on sale in late 2018, the G550 very likely to start close for the outgoing model's $125,000 as well as the G63 similarly holding the cloths line near $145,000.